and welcome back to the Young Dad Podcast. Whether you're outside grilling, changing dirty diapers, or maybe, just maybe, you got a moment to sit back, relax, and listen to your favorite podcast, or maybe you're mowing the lawn and you're riding the mower or you're pushing the mower and you're like, I need to listen to something to get me through this. So here we are today. Welcome back. I'm your host, Jay. Super excited to be here with you, and thanks, of course, for tuning in. Today's guest is Tim Thomas, a former Special Forces operator turned wellness coach, mental health advocate, and founder of Breathwork in Bed. Tim's journey from combat zones to calming breathwork has helped transform the lives of veterans, parents, and everyday people by showing them the power of rest. We don't. What is that? We're dads. We don't know what that is. Resilience. We know what that is 100%. We are a resilient bunch, and connection, something we all hope to form. He's raised over $1 million for mental health research, or Aussie dollars, whatever that is. Save lives, and now he's here to help us sleep better, stress less, and step into our power as men, as dads. So with that, boys, grab your juice box, grab a snack, and let's welcome Tim to the show. Tim, welcome.
Jay, great to be here. Looking forward to this conversation.
Of course, no, it's been one that we've been trying to make happen for a little bit. So I appreciate your patience and everything to get us going here. You're actually, believe it or not, the fourth or fifth Aussie that I've had on the show.
Us Aussies are everywhere. We're going to sleep on your couch before you know it.
Pretty much, and it's like I connect so well with Australian people. I'm like, I'm meant to be Australian, I think. Like part of me is there. Like part of me is part wallaby, I think, and I'm supposed to be in the outback, I think.
Well, you got to eat the wallaby.
Oh, I don't know if I could do that, but I've always wanted to go to Australia. I literally have one of those Google flight alerts to Brisbane that I've had for well
Nice.
over 2 years now.
Yeah.
And so I get regular flight updates of how much a round trip to Brisbane would cost periodically. And I'm like, who is today the day? Is today the day I do it? Is it
Today
today?
could be the day, Jay, because, I'm from Brisbane. I could pick you up, mate. No worries.
Perfect. Today might be the day. I'm just saying. But no, in all seriousness, Tim, welcome to the show. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into this work post being in the Special Forces.
Yeah, well, thank you for your kind intro, and I'm really picking up the good energy. So my journey into this, let me just say it like this. Us blokes, we are black belts in effing ourselves up. That's kind of my thing, and I tend to do that well. Now, currently in Australia, it's 11 past 1, which actually means 11:11 in Canada. And every day at 11:11, I message my boy. He's currently in Canada, and every day at 11 past 11, I send him a little. I just send him 11:11. I've been doing it for like over 5 years. He's 20 odd now. He picked himself up a dinky die Canadian girlfriend. And my alarm just went off now saying, hey, send him a little message. So I apologize for the little
I love that
segue, but that's something I do for my boy every single day. I've even done it when the dentist is elbow deep in my mouth, and I'm like, no, I got to text my boy, and I'm like, ah.
It's for the boys. If you got to do it for the boys, that's what's important, right? There's more important things in life than dental work. It's about texting your boy at 11:11 every day. If that's what that's important. You got to, because sometimes like. And this is like a great like segue into the conversation. We'll get back to how you got into it eventually, probably, but like it's those little things that we get from the other men in our lives, right? Like that can keep us going. It's like, oh, my stupid friend Tim, he texts me every day at 11:11. He literally texts me 11:11. Like I like trying to explain that to other people. He's probably like, yeah, it's this whole thing, but it's like it's something that's like meaningful to you, to him, and it's like. It's your guys' connection, right? It's your connection through being countries apart. Unfortunately, he's in Canada. He's not in America, but he's close enough to being here. So
he's close enough to get all your bad food.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So he's probably East Coast, so he's 3 hours ahead of me. So, and it's interesting that you say 11 past 8. We just say the hour then 11, like 11:11. It's not 11 past 11. It's 11:11.
Yeah, no, there's a bunch of Americanisms and Australianisms that we could create a whole podcast around.
Oh, honestly, yeah, it's so cool though too. At the same time, to see how like, yes, we say things differently. You say one thing, I say mean it in this way, and vice versa and whatnot. But at the same time, like we're still speaking a language. We still understand each other as men, as dads, as people, and it's just really cool how we can connect through through these different mediums of language and communication and podcasting and so many different things and go into so many different directions. And it's just really cool.
Joking aside, like, I mean, this is what we do as men. We give each other shit. We test each other. We even try and, damage each other. And you damage me, I damage you, right? And we sort of get a sense of who each other are. I got a background in professional fighting, so I probably lean more into that physical space. But the point I'm trying to make here is, joking aside, testing aside, it is scary almost, I'd say, how similar people are when it comes to universal truths. And how similar, like I was listening to some of your podcasts and the journeys of young dads, in the US, and I'm like, crap, these guys are speaking the words in my heart, you know, and yeah, that's pretty cool when you can hear someone from the other side of the planet say words that are exactly what you have experienced and kind of needed to hear.
Yeah. No, I've had a couple really cool experiences with people like here on the podcast, and one of them was to the point to where like this guy was his name was what's his name? Stuart, I think I could be wrong. Stuart, if you're listening, hey buddy, haven't heard from me in a long time. Hope you're doing well. But he had reached out, and that may not be his name, but he knows who I'm talking about him. If he hears this, he'll know. He had reached out kind of thing, and he was really down, and he had heard the podcast, and his approach to this was, hey, I listened to your podcast for a little bit, I thought it was trash, and then I really started listening more and more to more episodes, and I just started listening episode after episode after episode, and really started to relate. Turns out this guy is from the UK, so London, UK, different country across the pond, as they say over there. Now if we want to talk about some weird sayings, we can bash on the UK. They're a little bit lower on the totem pole between us, you know. But no, and so he's like, yeah, I didn't think anything of it. I was like, it's probably not that good. It's probably But then a couple episodes really clicked with him and really hit. And he said that the more he listened, the more he felt less alone, and the less he wanted to take his life because he was on the verge of taking his life. And I've had a couple really cool experiences like that through the show, and it's like we're all like, yes, we're in different countries, different time zones, different parts of the world, different weather, different climates, different political climates, and whatnot. But at the end of the day, like your experience raising children is very similar to the next person, right? Our experiences as humans aren't that different from each other. Yes, we're in different countries, so the day to day looks different, but overall, the experience is pretty dang similar.
And Jay, I do want to speak to something there because it's not the pain we can't handle. We're built to handle pain, right? Physical or emotional, right? But what happens is it'll get to a certain duration or intensity where that pain transforms into loneliness, isolation. I'm the only one going through it. And we don't even know that transition's happened. We just know we're just disconnected. And in that place of disconnect, we've got no energy. No energy, no options. It's like walking around and all you've got is 20 cents in your pocket. The world occurs very differently than if you've got $20 million in your bank account. And
Yeah.
that's how we operate energetically. When we're feeling alone and isolated, we got like 20 cents. And what someone else has the power of doing is speaking into that isolation and making us realize, crap, we're not the only ones going through this. And when that isolation is broken, all of a sudden that 20 cents starts turning into a lot more energetic options. And, you know, this is where if you're going to go full circle in this, and I had to go to Afghanistan to realize this, that even if you dislike the other person, it makes a lot of sense to have them strengthened and empowered. Because who do you want around you when good times turn bad?
You want those people. You want those people that'll be there with you.
Well, look, Jay, that concept of simply breaking isolation, well, it was a hard fought lesson because I'd gone through special forces, came out with PTSD, but if you ask me, I was fine, right? But the family was going to hell and I was drinking a lot. But if you ask me, again, I was fine. I could do my job. I could function. So if most blokes, if you say, oh, you got a problem, nah, look how good I did my job, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that becomes like your trophy wall. People value me for my job. So if you criticize a bloke, they'll often go, can't you see how well I do this? And they don't want to see the sort of the parts of their house that they don't want to look at. So you can't point them out, but you can break their isolation and make it okay for them to then start that journey to, restoration. And and there was two things that enabled me, because when I got through my loop, let me just back that up. So family falling apart, drinking a lot, and then society says, "Oh, you've got to see a psychologist." And Jay, that made no sense to me. Why do I want to go see some guy I've never met and I don't trust? And it took a whole lot to go see this guy, because what do I know? I seem to be the pain point for my family, right? And I see this guy, and he wasn't just incompetent. He was apathetic. He didn't give a shit. And I told him everything I saw in service. And at the end of this, he just goes, "You think it was a problem with your mum and dad?" And the whole room froze, Jay. I remember it was like, boom. And I became very aware of everything around me. And I saw his glass-framed psychology degree. And it made a lot of sense to me in my state of disconnect to grab that thing and shove it down his throat. Removing this guy would save so many other people pain, because this guy was supposed to be a healer, and he's not just not healing, he's causing harm, as I saw it in my state of disconnect. So remember, the worst thing pain does is cause you disconnect. And it's not just painful, it allows you to justify all sorts of dumb shit. I'm about to kill a guy, and there's not a goddamn thing this guy could have done to stop me. I got a certain skill set, and I get out of my chair to do this. And then there's like this hand on my chest, and the words like, "Red flag, Tim. You are the toughest motherfucker you know. And you are struggling in a system that doesn't seem to understand and doesn't seem to care. How many other people are struggling in this same system?" And I sat back down, and that's when I saw him, Jay. I saw hundreds of thousands of people left and right of me looking in, saying, "Tim, if you can find a way forward for you, you can find a way forward for us." And in that moment, boom, that's when my isolation got broken. And it's like, when you get that connection, it's like your intelligence kicks back in, your energy kicks back in, your options kick back in. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck this guy. This is about me. I am going to find a way forward. It doesn't matter if it takes me a week, a month, a decade. And that's the time I'm going to be able to save all these other people. And it can be really slow progress, starting your own healing journey. But if you can ask that golden question, how many other people are in this same situation as me? That's the golden question. Now, I came through the veteran space, but it doesn't matter what angle you come into it as. It could be breast cancer, it could be, relationship, it could be workplace, whatever it is. How many other people are in your situation? And you put those people, and give it a number. Don't just leave it as a maybe. No, give it a genuine number. And I honestly thought at least 1 million are struggling in this healthcare system. And they're the people I saw either side of me, willing me on. And then all of a sudden I wasn't 1 in a million, I was 1 million in one. So even if I made an inch of progress, that was actually 1 million inches of progress. And when you start quantifying your actions forward like that, all of a sudden you've got the connection, you've got the energy, you've got the options that wouldn't be otherwise available to you if you thought it was just you. And that sense of isolation isn't seen on the spreadsheets of healing. And you can spend millions of dollars of resources in mental health, but if you're not breaking the isolation and the resultant fatigue, then it's like water off a duck's back.
Yeah, it's that isolation, is something that's so prevalent, right? Like there's so much isolation that men deal with, right? There's so much, and I think you hit it perfectly multiple times there, from everything from, when you realize you're not the only one with 20 cents in your pocket, that more people than not also have the same 20 cents. And there's more people that have the same 20 cents as you versus the people who have the 20 million. There's a lot less of those than there are the people who actually also have the same 20 cents, right? But also the same way to where, you're not alone in all this, right? And then that isolation goes to the point to where you're just like, oh well, look what I produce. Look at my results. Look how good I'm doing here, right? There's no way I'm doing anything wrong. There's no way I have a problem Because look how good the output I'm still putting out is, right? I'm still crushing it at work. I'm still doing good in this thing. I'm doing fine here. And then notice how it's like, oh, I'm doing good. I'm doing great. I'm doing good. I'm doing okay. I'm doing fine. Uh, I'm doing I there kind of thing in that like you lower that progression of words, right? As you keep going down the list, to the point to where it's like I'm doing really bad, and it hits you after a while, right? It really hits you to where you're at that point to where you could be going through an addiction, you could be going through, the family falling apart, you could be going through losing your job, you could be going through getting caught with your mistress at a Coldplay concert. There's so many things that you could be doing, right? That could be happening to you throughout this, right? And you don't realize it until it literally gets publicized for everyone to see, or what feels like publicized for everyone to see, to kind of use that as an example. But that loneliness and that isolation is something that men, not just in Australia, not just in the United States, not just in Canada, but all over the world. I once did a study to kind of highlight this, and I could probably look at the same numbers right now, but I'm not going to. But in America, our suicide rate for men to women is 4 to 1,
All
like four
right.
men to every one woman, and so it's 4 times the amount of men die by suicide than women here in America. There's countries like in the Baltics, Slovenia, or some of those like Baltic countries, those really small ones. It's like in the hundreds to one. It's absolutely mind-boggling, and that just
Jake,
goes to show, like,
can I just speak to that for a second?
yeah, of course.
I had a goal of saving 40 veteran lives from suicide because that's my journey was veteran sort of going through it. And because we'd lost about that many to bombs and bullets, but we'd lost 30 or 40 times that amount to suicide. And I discovered that there's a conversation people have before they completely exit the planet. And it goes something like this. And this is the isolation broker that worked a lot in the space that I worked in. And it worked like this. Us blokes, we handle the pain. It transforms into loneliness. We're not sleeping. We're fatigued. And there comes a point where we ask somewhere inside ourselves, okay, what do I know? I know I'm in pain. And I can see I'm causing pain to others. And if I look into the future, I genuinely can't see that changing. And they're being honest, because you've only got 20 cents of energy now. You can honestly say, this is my predictable future. And then they're like, you know what? I've got the idea. I'm gonna do the world a favor. I'm gonna end the pain to me. I'm gonna end the pain to you. I'm gonna remove myself from this situation. And so suicide actually comes up as this wonderful out switch, where people think they're going to end the pain. And this is where I say to guys, look, if you're going to do it, I can't stop you. But remember this, if you're doing it on the illusion that you're reducing the amount of pain in this world, your suicide is going to multiply the pain by about 1,000 to everyone who knows you. So don't do it thinking you're going to stop the pain, because that's a lie. So speaking to the lie of, oh, I'm saving someone pain, no, you're going to multiply it. And then there's a certain sequence that happens after that. But just speaking into that space, because those unspoken words where people are saying, well, I'm in pain, I'm causing pain to others, it would be better if I'm not here. Those unspoken words, they're like rocks around people's hearts. It's like they can't feel. Often in that case, you look for external substances so you can sort of dull the pain of these rocks around your heart so you can feel again. I used to
Hmm.
drink a lot, used to take a lot of pills, and the doctors are very willing to, throw them at you. But having the job that I had, I've probably got 6 pages of weapons I'm qualified in. But the most powerful thing on this planet, in my observation, the thing that actually shifts the axis of someone's world is an authentic conversation of what you've gone through. And again, this you could have gone through anything, but that thing that you're up against, that thing that you're struggling with, is actually the most there to give you the most value. in the way that it's not what you do, because as blokes, we think, oh, it's what we do that makes us valuable. Yes, to a point, right? But what makes us truly valuable, which enables our words to wrap around the planet, is what we've come through. And I'll say this in very plain language in the veteran space. I'll say, listen, you might not think you're special, but I bet you've been through some shit. You know? And that shit is there to be turned into fertilizer. And the stinkiest shit becomes the best fertilizer. It's actually there to help everything grow. And once I got through this shit and I turned it into fertilizer, I could help other people turn their shit into fertilizer in far less time. And I'm not saying this to brag, but this is just what happened. Without any training, when I was working in the veteran space, that goal of saving 40 veteran lives from suicide, and it was literally just the conversation we had, that we achieved that within 12 months.
Yeah.
So
it's crazy, like how a simple conversation has so much impact, especially for a man, right? Especially for men, right? Like it's as simple as reaching out and having a conversation, asking them to talk on the phone, going out for a drink, or maybe not drink, maybe going out for lunch or for coffee, or to a batting cage, maybe going something, right? Going and doing something together, right? With someone that genuinely shows they care about you, that genuinely takes an interest in your life, that will listen to you and let you get it all out, kind of thing. It's not just that simple, but it's one of those biggest things. And
well, it
I
gets
love that
simple
you're.
if you couple that with getting a man physically active. So men will talk after they've done a physical activity. We usually open up once we've activated our physical bodies. And so being stationary, I mean, we're stationary, but I'm sure you've done your exercise today and I have too. So we can actually sit down and engage after our physical body has been powered up. The way I kind of see it, and I don't want to tangent too much here, but people get it wrong with the body. The Chinese for thousands of years have been saying, first the body, then the mind. And the way I see the body, Jay, it's the radio, right? And who we are, truly, we're the signal. And when you access your body with exercise, whatever works for you, running, jumping, lifting, breathing, I like breath work, that dials the radio into who you truly are. And you're tapped into that signal. But once you sort of get that, you're no longer doing exercise just to look a certain way. You do an exercise to affirm who you are and connect to the signal of who you truly are. And that's what I think masculine power is. And this is what I tell my now 20-year-old son that I just texted in Canada. A man's here to be happy and he's here to be generous. Okay, but a man's happiness and generosity is relative to how powerful he feels. And this is what no one talks about. A man's happiness, generosity, relative to how powerful he feels. And I'd also probably attach the level at which you can experience peace. And that starts with us. That starts underneath our own skin. That starts with us accessing our own power. We give this stuff to ourselves. And if you doubt me, Jay, think of a guy who's stingy and unhappy and doesn't experience any peace. He's not very powerful. Around a powerful man, you feel safe, right? You can be yourself. You can let your true self out. There's no hidden agenda there. There's no manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
But a disempowered man makes you feel unsafe, and to the point where they'll deliberately attack someone's sense of safety. He's a badass. He'll punch. He's a violent man. No, he's so weak he can't generate his own power. He's got to take power from others, and he does it using violence.
Yeah.
So
And
I just tangented there. I hope that sort of made sense on the back end.
No, it makes sense to kind of what I wanted to say, or a thought I had while you were talking about the fertilizer, and turning our stuff into fertilizer. It's really how this whole podcast was started. 200 plus episodes later, and counting. It's because I was at a place to where I needed something, right? I needed to not feel alone. I needed to connect with something, right? And then he's now a friend of mine. Actually, I haven't texted him in a while. I should probably text him how he's doing. His name's Craig. He used to host a podcast called the Single Dad Reboot Podcast. Used to. He doesn't anymore. He since, stopped podcasting and things like that. Different life changed for the better for him, luckily. But he had set out with that podcast to very similar to what you said, to turn the shit into fertilizer. He had he had set out to turn his story of how he got through it into the blueprint to help someone else for how they got through it. And that's exactly how it is for me now, right? With this whole podcast, is all these stories I've shared on this podcast and the many, many more to come. By the time this airs, there'll be more coming after it. There'll be plenty coming before this airs and stuff, right? From IVF to child loss to spouse loss to raising a really difficult child to getting your fitness to so many things, right? There's so many different topics that I've talked about, right? To chiropractic work, to psychology, to mental health, to everything in between, so many topics, right? But at the end of it, they all have some kind of blueprint, some kind of story of how they got through it, how they survived it, and how they, are now on the other side of it, now talking and then giving that back now, right? Giving back that blueprint of how they got through it, how they survived, how they overcame, right? And that is such a key piece of, I think, just our development as men, right? And there's no better way to do that than by having children, right? Because then you're straight giving back when you have children, right? There's no, like, you're giving everything back when you have children, when you're raising children. And like, it's such a huge part of just our development as men, right? Like, I look at men that are also my age. I'm 30. I know I look great for 30, baby face and all. Thanks.
Yeah, I had to say that.
No, I'm not as much of a young dad as I used to be. I became a dad when I was 22, so I've been in the game for a little
Well
bit now.
done.
But uh, it's it's one of those things to where it's like, it's it, I see other men my age and they don't have children. I see where they're at throughout their 20s and into their 30s and whatnot, and some that are older than me that don't have children. And I'm like, how, like, just settle down, dude. Like, just settle down. Find you a good one. Find you a good one, and take that next step in your life, right? Like, take that next step because
So
you need
why do
it,
you
right?
feel the need to tell these men to do that? What do you see missing that a family life would give them?
You know, structure, love, that generosity we're talking about, a new sense of resilience, a new sense of self, or not a new sense, an improved sense of self, healing, the first step to a lot of recovery in a lot of different ways, right? Breaking a lot of generational cycles, right? And I think the list can even go further than that, but I say those are like probably those are 8 reasons right there.
No, no, Jay, I think I got a good insight to what parenting has done for you in that, and because you're basically projecting onto others what parenting did for you. Now we don't know
Absolutely.
whether we don't, and I asked that question just to get a sense of it. So
What I talk
because
to other
we obviously
men.
don't know what parenting would do to another person. It could actually make them the opposite of those things too. You know
Yeah,
what I
but I
mean?
would say that's rarer than not, right? Like, it's more rare than not, right? You can err in the 80-20 rule, right? Or like 80% I think of men who have children, who raise their kids, who are involved with their kids can say very similar things to what I just said. At least 80%. Of course, there's going to be the exceptions. There's going to be the extremes, but 80%, if not more, would agree that thing. And they'll look back and they'll say, the biggest risk I took was having children, but it would have been a bigger risk to not have those children. That's something that Patrick Bet David talks about all the time, host of the PBD podcast. I love PBD. I love what he stands for. I love how he talks. Everything with PBD is exactly like what I hope this podcast becomes someday. But it's one of those things, like, it was a big risk to do it, right? It was a really big risk to take that leap, to have a child, to stay with it, to go through it and raise a child and whatnot. But looking back, like, it would have been a much bigger risk to not do it, right? And I think you need that as a man to take those key parts of development. I think it's part of the human experience, honestly.
Yeah, clear. I got a very clear understanding of how you see it.
But yeah, but I think it all plays into us giving back and our generosity
Well,
and what we can do.
you said a mouthful there. So generosity is can be a very clear indicator that you've healed yourself and you're heading into abundance. But generosity can also be done wrong. And I'll just share how I did it wrong. So in the veteran recovery space, like when I started getting myself better, I started seeing all these other people that needed help. And I'm like, oh, I've helped 3 people today. I want to help 30. That'll make me feel even better. I'll help 300. I'll help 3,000. And I just kept on scaling up to the point where I was doing good work, but what nobody knew, every 6 or 7 weeks, I was giving of myself. I wasn't giving of my abundance in the way that if we're just adequate, I was just at 100%. And if I gave 10% away to somebody generously because I thought it was the right thing to do, then there's a part of me going, you know what, I'm down to 90%. You better do something with that 10%. That was in the background. And what nobody knew is living like that every 6 or 7 weeks, I was still doing good work, but every 6 or 7 weeks I'd have to write myself off drunk for like 3 days because I was giving of myself and not of my abundance. So what I really encourage people to do now, and what I do for myself, is treat your energy like money, in the way that how you invest it is how you get it back. And if in the beginning part of your day, you can connect to your physical power in a way that really resonates with you. And again, we're not thinking shape, we're thinking state, energetic state. The goal of this is to be an energetic millionaire. And every day we wake up, we've got a certain amount of energy capital, and we can say, look, I'm going to protect that, or I'm going to invest that. And investing in yourself is something that, especially in your own physical body, will always give you an amazing return. And the problem is when you get low in energy, people start thinking, oh, I've only got 20 cents today, I'll just conserve. But you're never holding ground in my observation of this. You're either generating more energy and making better choices, or you're protecting your energy and you're making worse choices. So on a bad day, if I chose to just protect myself, my likelihood of making really bad dietary choices goes through the roof. My likelihood of telling everyone to F off goes through the roof, especially in traffic, right? And no energy, no options. But those times where you feel like, no, it's such a burden to access my own body, they're the days you absolutely have to do it, because in many ways you don't have a choice. If you don't choose to invest in yourself, the world's going to say, right, I'm going to make this day a complete crap sandwich for you. And it's obviously, we're doing this to ourselves. The world's not doing anything, right? But yeah, I guess if I had a goal for anybody, it would be to live like an energetic millionaire. And for that to happen, you've got to know sort of who you really are and what lights you up physically. We're in a physical body, and we get this energized all of a sudden. This brain, this connection, who we really are, starts coming through. And I always sort of say to myself, if all I had to do was, go for a run, go do some breath work to have an awesome day, would I do it?
Yeah, I think the simple answer is yes. I think we generally want to have awesome days, right? We generally want that. But there's a lot of things that tell us to not do that in our minds, to do the opposite. It's an interesting concept here too, right? Where we think of, oh yeah, well I'm protecting my 20 cents today. But I'm gonna go and invest, but you're still investing that in the wrong places, right? You're still gonna take that 20 cents and you're still gonna invest it somewhere, right? You're still gonna do something with it. You talking about that, where you're gonna invest it kind of thing, and I'm gonna protect it or I'm gonna give it, very similar to, I don't know if you ever read the book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Mason. Mark
I know
Mason.
about it. I haven't read it. Yeah.
Okay. Very similar concept here, right? Is to pretty much say, let me take my fucks and look at them and be like, okay, I have 10, right? I have 2 here, 4 here. Oh, that's 6. 1 here and 3 here, right? Let me evaluate those 10. Okay, does this actually need the 4 I'm giving it here? Okay, maybe not. Let me pull 2 back. But the place over here that I'm only putting 1 into, that actually needs 3. Let me put 3 in there. And I think everyone has a different amount on any given day, right? That's just an example here, but it's that constant evaluation of where you're investing in, and if you're trying to protect them, you're going to be putting them in the wrong places, right? Protecting them, really protecting your 20 cents, is making sure you're putting it and you're investing it in the right places, right? Making sure you're doing the right things with it that are going to help you, that are going to essentially make you more money on the back end, like you said, right? That are going to grow you exponentially.
And there's a massive cost to living like an energetic pauper. And like I said, you're never holding ground. You're either spiraling down rapidly or you're ascending rapidly. There comes a point, because everyone needs energy to function. And if everyone's running around with 20 cents, people get really good at taking energy from others. They get highly skilled. They know they can't generate it for themselves, but they also know they need it. So they get really good at taking from others, which then when I'm talking to high school students, I'll show them a plant and I'll say, right, this plant wants to be protected. So it's going to put a metal bucket over it. And I put this metal bucket over the plant. And I say, well, that plant is safe, but it's slowly dying. And then they get the concept of, if we get hurt and then we shut down and just try and protect ourselves, we're dying. But if we take what we have and just grow, we're going to outgrow anything that has once taken from us. And there's a certain energetic sliding scale. The example I use is I'll have a little Venus flytrap, like those Venus flytraps, and I'll show them. I'll say, look, this is small, but to a fly, this is terrifying. Okay, but if that fly had a human energetic system, that fly could invest in itself and make it bigger and stronger. It could become a bird. The bird could become a cat. The cat could become a lion. And so imagine that lion walking past that Venus flytrap. It would laugh at itself that it ever took it seriously. So anyone that's ever hurt you, anyone that's ever taken from you, use it as an opportunity to invest in yourself and outgrow them. Be that lion walking past that Venus flytrap. Yes, at one point in your development, that was a scary thing, but now you've outgrown it, and there's not even any need for revenge, because the joke's on you that you ever took it seriously.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm just trying to think of like an example that I can relate to that makes sense. I can definitely relate to how people like drain your energy when they aren't producing enough themselves, right? Like I work in mental health. That's my 9 to 5. And there's a family that I work with that every time I visit with them, every time I see them, I am drained. Like I just feel the life sucked out of me. And then after that, like I literally feel like I need to recover. Like I need to do something to recover from this. Like I don't know what it is. Like I need to go on a walk, or I need to decompress. And maybe it wasn't even that serious. It's just being around them just sucks the life out of me. Just sucks everything out of me. And so it goes to show, like, right, like you can tell, right, when you're either rapidly going up or you're rapidly going down. And I think a lot of us are rapidly going down more than we think, and leading to that burnout, leading to those times of burnout and just being over it and done.
Yeah, well, I think what you're touching on there is having something that I call sovereign skin. Okay, so I had to lose. Well, I shouldn't. I used to say I'd lost. I used to now say I traded in my divorce. I traded my house, home, money, regular access to kids for some very valuable lessons, and those lessons taught me that this skin bag is about where I stop, and everything outside of that I can't control. But guess what? Underneath here, I get to say in that, this is where I start, this is where you stop. And so I have this thing called sovereign skin, where you invest in yourself to the point where you're right. I'm feeling sovereign. I can be in any situation and maintain my boundaries, and I can maintain boundaries of people around me if needed. Does that make sense? So I would, when I'm working with people that are potentially draining, and I know no matter, they might take 50 cents. Okay. So I make sure that I really invest in myself. So I've got like $1 million beforehand. And it doesn't mean that's not Red Bull coffee jumping off the walls. This is just you're really powerful inside who you are, and if you're a business person and you knew that the job was going to have $150 worth of expenses, but you've only budgeted $100, it's really on you to understand that you've got a budget $500, and then that $50 is not a big deal. And if you can sort of get that concept that in your day things are going to take from you, people are going to take from you, and it occurs very differently when you're in that sort of state of energetic abundance.
I can
You're
agree
like,
with that. I can agree with that. When people are coming in and out and they're taking stuff from us constantly, right? It's draining. It's doesn't feel good at all. So I guess now would be a good time. Now we've talked about a lot of the key elements, I think, to the conversation we wanted to have today, but for time's sake, I wanted to know more specifically about what breathwork in bed is, and how it works and how you apply it to just your everyday up and down and things like that.
sure. Well, let me just speak to the cost of poor sleep, the cost of fatigue. A lot of us blokes treat it like it's a normal thing. You might get to sleep, but you wake up, you've got racing thoughts, you can't get back to sleep. That comes at a massive cost. If you're talking dollars in Australia, it's a $66 billion problem in the workspace. So, and a massive contributor to mental health. So they've shown that poor sleep increases mental health problems by 2 to 300%. And that's absolutely massive. So I put it to people, even if your head's fine, if you're not sleeping well, it'll give you a mental health problem with poor sleep. So knowing that it's not something that just because no one's talking about it, and us blokes, we tend to sort of brag about, hey, I only got 3 hours sleep last night. Aren't I awesome? It doesn't stack up to be a powerful man if we ignore the cost of poor sleep and the impact on that. Sleep when you're dead? Well, yeah, you will die earlier. If you're sleeping poorly, that will impact every cell in your body. And you talk about brain fog and underperforming and no energy in your head. Well, here's a news flash for you. We eat food and we shit. Okay, our brain burns up a massive amount of energy and it's got a shit. And it sits in this bag called the blood-brain barrier. And when you get 8 hours sleep, your spinal fluid comes up through into that blood-brain barrier and pulls the shit out of your head. That's a literal thing. So if you're not sleeping properly and you feel crappy, and that shitty, crappy feeling you're waking up with and it's following you through your day and it's influencing your decisions with food, interactions with loved ones, well, there's a good reason for that. So the reason I created Breathwork in Bed is for people to reclaim the power of their sleep and do it in the most natural and, may I say, immediate way, because it's not so much about the sleep, it's about you being the person you want to be, that loving partner, that high performing, target hitting masculine, the person that can operate with sovereign skin and see things as they are, be that energetic millionaire. It's a complete game changer when you focus on the thing that nobody else is doing. So if you can be the one that focuses on sleep and gets that right, you'll have strength where other people don't. You'll live longer, your timeline of success is longer, and it is like a lot of things, simple, but no one's talking about it because no one's really making money from this stuff. Now, I have an online resource that anyone can put on their phone. And all you have to do is tell it two things: when you want to sleep, when you want to wake up. Super, super simple. And you'll see that breath work, literally tonight, can turn your bed into a cloud. And it's amazing because your breath outranks your thinking mind. And the feminine tends to pick up on this really quickly, how their breath can actually kick out their thinking mind. Now, when we can get power back inside our own skin, and we're sleeping properly, the world occurs very differently. And just so you know, if you're wondering, do I have quality sleep or am I getting enough? In the last fortnight, when have you woken up and you felt energized, refreshed, and ready to go?
Can't say this morning, because this morning I dragged my ass out of bed to get on the microphone to record a podcast that I made every excuse in my head to not get up for, but it was a really good podcast in the end.
So 14 days, out of 14 days, how many times did you wake up with energy, feeling refreshed and satisfied with the sleep that you had?
Thank you for clarifying what a fortnight was. I didn't want to ask and sound too American. We don't use that term here.
Okay, thanks for letting me know.
I'm like, I don't want to sound dumb. But no, I probably have the last like 2 weeks. I'm probably thinking, shoot, probably 4 to 6 days, maybe, if I'm being generous.
Okay, and that's above average. Well done. Okay, but I put it to you, there's a cost for all those other days when you're not sleeping well. And that's not just you, that's everyone who knows you, your work and everything, right? So
Yeah.
so what I've created with breathwork in bed doesn't just give you a deeper sleep and a more restorative sleep. And I might add here, presence of oxygen, absence of disease. I got off all my pain meds because breath work is a natural anti-inflammatory. I got a stack of chronic injuries in my body post special forces. But breath work has pretty much, I'm not taking any pain meds anymore. And the real game changer is, in the evening, breath work will turn your bed into a cloud. There's also a section in there for couples breath work where you simply hold hands and synchronize your breathing. It's so wonderful to go to sleep with another human with your breath synced up. We're a lot more connected and aware of each other's breath than we know. So that's a very special thing. I wanted to put that in there. I used to drink a lot of alcohol before I could speak to my then wife, and I call her my then wife because ex-wife has got a lot of negative association, and I do genuinely stand for a positive future in that space. So having that couples breath work in there is super important for both mum and dad to be able to have that rested sleep connected to each other. But in the mornings, there's a different kind of breath work. Instead of turning your bed into a cloud, it turns into a trampoline. You connect to your body before your feet even hit the floor. And I find that a lot of people, I get emails and videos from people all around the world saying how much of a difference simple breath has made. Now, it does have to be guided, and that's why, the Breathwork in Bed app is there. You're welcome to try it. You won't get charged. You get 28 days, first 28 days free. You don't get charged for the first 28 days. So if it's not working, you've literally lost nothing. But if you can nail this for you, ask the question, how many other people do you know that aren't sleeping well? How many people do you know could really do with a good night's sleep?
Right. I mean, even if I could increase to, even thinking about it, like more of a 8 to 10 consistently out of 14, that would make such a big difference. Just get me through Monday through Friday. I sleep in on weekends, but just get me through Monday through Friday, please. Um, that would be great, because there are some mornings, like I really enjoy podcasting in the early morning hours because that gets me up and going. That gets my brain going. Right? That gets me up a little bit earlier before everybody, gets me up before the kids, gets me up before the wife, gets me up and going a little bit. So it's easier for me to do that. But like the struggle of getting up, man, is rough.
Yeah, well, you're using adrenaline to push yourself through that. And that's a credit to you. And us men, there's a time and a place to muscle up and get the job done. This country was made great by that. But if we can layer in,
I've been using caffeine to get me up and going.
well, unfortunately, if I was going to shoot straight on caffeine, that's more of a like a Panadol for a broken leg. It suppresses the fatigue. It doesn't actually give you energy.
Yeah, it's like borrowing. I heard it once. It's like borrowing tomorrow's something today, and then you're just kind of putting yourself in like debt that way.
Yeah. Well, put it this way, if you could, with your natural drive to get shit done, if you could layer in some breath work in the mornings, you would be very surprised the energetic capital you'd create, and therefore you wouldn't need to look outside of yourself so much. Because one thing I do with corporates is I'll show them a particular breathwork technique that gets them punching through the afternoon without coffee. And if you can be the one that cracks this for you, all of a sudden you become very useful to other people. The only caveat to breathwork is that because you've been doing it your whole life, it's a certain habit. So it does need to be guided to actually get the full result. Because what people discover, Jay, is, and if people are listening to this, really get this point out of everything. We don't own a set of lungs. We own a medicine cabinet with a lot of different shelves. When you want to elicit a certain set of chemicals, you breathe a certain way. If you want to study, you breathe a certain way. If you want to wake up, you breathe a certain way. If you want to go to sleep, you breathe a certain way. If you want to connect to a partner, you breathe a certain way. There's all these things that are a chemical override of any state that you're in. And once you can discover that power inside your own skin, and this is what my favorite thing, Jay, is showing people, like, we all own bodies, but we often don't have a clue of how awesome they are and the awesome resources we all have. And because we're ignorant of all those awesome resources, the world monetizes it. There's a whole economy based on the ignorance of our own energy systems. Coffee, energy drinks, pills to sleep. And I'm not saying this like I'm better than anybody. I lost 6 years of my life to pills when I told a doctor I couldn't sleep. I didn't know breath work could give me natural and immediate, sleep results. Could, get me back to sleep at 2 a.m. when my mind's racing, help me get out of bed and feel actually human. And that's why I'm, so happy that we're talking about this right now. I'd love to support you in that.
I love that. So,
I'll show you my little party trick. It's how to completely relax your body in just 3 breaths. Okay. And if you can sort this for you, ask the question: how many other people that you come across are going to need to relax their body, reduce their stress, get themselves back inside themselves? So for this one, all we're going to do is be in a safe place for this one. Don't be driving, don't be chopping up carrots. Just be either seated, laying down. And this is the first time a lot of people are going to take a full breath because, like I said, breath work isn't hard, but it's your oldest habit. And we're about to do something very new in your system. Okay, so I need permission from you, Jay, from a couple of different parts of you before we do it. I'm going to ask you 3 questions. And this just allows you to get the most from your own breath because this is your resource, but you haven't possibly accessed it before. So it's gonna occur differently for different people. So what I ask people is, do you give your breath full permission to nourish every cell in your body?
yes.
Great. Do you give your breath full permission to nourish every part of your conscious mind?
Yes.
Fantastic. Do you give your breath full permission to nourish every part of your unconscious mind?
I knew you were going to ask that. Yes.
Fantastic. Well, our minds are melding right now. It's fantastic. Okay, so all we're going to do is just breathe in and out. Congratulations. You're on your way to enlightenment. Conscious breathing is the first step. Okay, now what we're going to do is when we breathe in, we're going to breathe in again and again and again and again. Cool? But we're going to start with an exhale. And as we exhale, we're going to blow it out and just shake our body out. Blow it out and shake it out. So blow it out, shake it out, blow it out, shake it out, blow it out, shake it out. And then breathe in. And then breathe in more. Okay, hold it. Wriggle your shoulders. Feel it pushing around in there, and then let it out with a sigh. Okay. Now, if you've gotten energy going through your system, let it do what it does, because energy has an intelligence all of its own. It'll go to where it's needed. And you've given it permission. Some people have their necks relaxing. Some people feel tired. Some people feel energized. Some people feel clarity. Whatever it is, just let it do what it does. It knows you. Okay? And I'm going to juice up your inhale. So for the sake of giving it a name, your primary inhale is where you normally breathe in and out. Your secondary inhale is where you breathe in more. And you'll probably notice when you breathed in more, it kind of filled up this space here. All right, so your secondary inhale, I'm going to show you how to juice that up easy and effortlessly, and you can treat this like your back pocket breathwork boost. Okay, now I love my job because I show you, your audience, how awesome their body is, and they never knew it, right? So in your thumb and 2 fingers, you have power buttons, okay? If you pinch your fingers together really firmly, they're turbo buttons, power buttons. And what we're going to do, we're going to blow it out, and then when we breathe in, when we get to the secondary inhale, we're going to hit those power buttons really hard and look up. And just notice when we pinch our fingers, we can boost that secondary inhale. Okay, so you ready for this? You got your power buttons ready? Okay,
Ready.
blow it out, shake it out. Exhale. You'll be surprised how far you can exhale. Keep exhaling. Out. And then mouth closed through your nose. Breathing in. Hit your power buttons. Raise your nose. Now wriggle those shoulders. Feel that chest opening up. Feel your heart space opening up. Feel it opening, and when you're ready, let it out with a loud sigh. Okay.
Ugh.
Just sit in that for just a second. Let that energy go to where it goes. Me, I kind of feel it around the back of my head. If you were to give words to where you feel that, where do you feel it, Jay?
Feel it kind of like sinking in like behind my eyes a little bit.
Great.
And I feel it kind of like in the parts of me that are like a little sore right now, like some extra warmness going there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that energy knows you better than anyone else. And it'll go to those places that are needed. You could have tired eyes. You could have those sorenesses, Presence of oxygen, absence of disease. Okay, and I love this because blokes want something that works and works powerfully. Meditation is great, but that's thoughts controlling thoughts. And if you've got a goddamn train wreck going on up here, it's pretty hard for that to be controlled. So this is what I love about this. This is the ultimate, power card on your own body. This is how natural and immediate this breath work is. Now, I'm going to show you something right now that a lot of people don't know. There's a gas called nitric oxide, and it's super good for heart health, lung health, brain health, mood and function. It's a vasodilator. It's really great for cardiovascular. And if you went to a chemist, how much do you think you'd pay for a pill that did all those things?
Far too much.
All right. Yeah, of course. But nitric oxide gets produced not when we mouth breathe, but when we nasal breathe. When we breathe through our nose, we're producing nitric oxide. So what we're going to do now, Jay, is we're going to double the speed of the inhale. And if you look at my nose here, okay, I'm going to breathe in so quickly that my nostrils kind of collapse in and my lungs really have to work. Okay. And then right at the end, I'll open my mouth and I'll suck a bunch of air in. You got that? So we're creating a vacuum. And then just when you're, 99% inhale, open up and allow that air to pull through, wriggle, and then let it out with a big sigh.
Okay, I'll try it. Let's see. So
That's it.
that was a lot of air.
Yeah, you got a set of lungs in there that just got inflated. Welcome to your first breath, my friend.
That was a lot of air. I'm like lightheaded. Oh my God.
Jay, to be honest, that wasn't a lot of air. That was the right amount of air. You just haven't been breathing properly. You've had those lungs your whole life and you haven't stretched them out.
That was a lot. I felt good.
Okay, if it was too much, just stick with your nose and just double the speed and flare your nose like that. And really try and suck that air over your sinuses into your brain. So don't worry about opening your mouth. Okay.
I like that. I like that one.
Okay, so we're gonna either pop our mouths open at the end, or we're gonna flare the nostrils, but we're gonna double the speed. Okay, so we're gonna hit the power buttons and really stretch it open, and it's like we're gonna try and suck air over our sinuses into our brain. So when I was a professional fighter, my coach said, Tim, before you do a combination, do a big suck the air through to your brain and then execute. As much as that might not have been based in science, it worked in real time. And pulling air over your sinuses and that nitric oxide, that's another way to uptake your nitric oxide through your sinuses as well as into your lungs. So all we're going to do right now is blow it out, shake it out, have our power buttons ready, and double the speed of the inhale. Blow it out, shake it out, feel into your power buttons, and then when you're ready, really inhale quickly, mouth closed, looking up, open. Now hold your breath, wriggle it, lean back, wriggle your spine, feel that tension in your spine getting out, and when you feel like you can't stop it, let it out with a really big sigh. Woo!
That was good. That's some good stuff.
You look different.
That's some good stuff.
Pass the Dutchie.
Right past it. All right. Well, let's pass that breath work into the dad zone, shall we, and wrap this thing up.
Okay, well, I'll give you a link to talk people through that, because that's about
Definitely.
half of it. It gets better. There's a bunch of other good stuff that you can integrate with that. But what I want people to take away is have those little power buttons like medicine buttons. Okay, so when you're kicking around and you've got some intrusive thoughts in your head, I'm a human, things piss me off. I will interrupt that thought by pinching my fingers and then I get myself back in my own skin. And how often should we do that? Well, when I was on pills, I had pills by my bed, in my car, in my wallet, I couldn't self-regulate. So this becomes your medicine thing. Like, like the nurse in the hospital, you got to press a button to get them in. This is now your back pocket thing. So if you've forgotten everything that we've done and you can remember that and snorting that nitric oxide through your system, happy, happy days.
I like it. I like it. Cool. Well, yeah, definitely send the link. We'll attach that to the show notes. Let's get into the Dad Zone, wrap this thing up. So, Dad Zone is a nice little part of the podcast that some people say is their favorite part of the podcast, that they skip everything just to get to see what the answers to the Dad Zone are going to be. So, no pressure at all here, right? First question in the Dad Zone is, does pineapple go on pizza?
Yeah.
Is that an Australia thing? Do you guys have pineapple on pizza there?
Especially in Queensland, we have a lot of pineapples grown here. So I'm talking good quality pineapple, not the stuff that's been sitting in the can for a decade. Good quality pineapple with the right amount of sweetness and the right amount of caramelization from the heat from ideally a wood-fired pizza can give it, not just this wet, cheese covered yellow looking thing. Like the real deal is quite nice as I've experienced it.
I like it. I like it. Who are 3 people, dead or alive, that you would like to invite over for a dinner party?
3 people.
3 people, dead or alive, that you would like to invite over for a dinner party.
It has to be humans, right?
Because they can be fictional, any interpretation.
Back my old dogs in a heartbeat. I would bring back my
any
old dogs
interpretation.
I miss my dogs every day. Anyway, no, I would probably, well, with all the hype around it, I would definitely like to have one of them as Jesus, Buddha, and I reckon Mel Gibson would be fun.
Mel Gibson would be fun. I like it. And then you're a health guy, you're fitness, you're a fit dude. But what is your guilty pleasure food?
Ooh. Okay,
what's the one thing you eat that you don't tell anyone that you eat?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm fortunate because I have a very high fat diet. Okay, so this thing here, this ain't coffee. This is ceremonial grade cacao. Okay, it's like where chocolate comes from, but the purity of it, it's like a medicine, but it's very fatty. And to that, I'll add grass-fed ghee, grass-fed butter, and maybe a bit of honey. So usually I feel satisfied, but when I'm feeling really low, like I just come back off some off-grid time where every year I go to this place where there's great white sharks, and I grew up there. I was terrified, and you swim in these waters and it taps into this sort of reptilian brain, and it's so energetic, but afterwards you're just cooked, right? And so I'm sort of in this ball of wanting comfort. And so what I'll do, my pleasure to sort of my absolute comfort foods, is I'll go to a really nice bakery that does donuts and those chocolate eclairs. And I will absolutely murder a few of those. And for some reason, I don't know why, I really like eating driving. I like eating when I'm driving, and I don't know why, it just works for me.
Yeah, it's nice. 2 birds, 1 stone kind of thing. Last question here in the Dad Zone, and then I'll wrap this thing up officially. What is one piece of advice that you would offer to a new dad, age 18 to 22, so a young dad, just starting out his fatherhood journey?
Yeah. Well, protect your sleep and protect the mum's sleep. Because if you, and even if it's just 4 hours, if you can protect it with breath work, you are ahead of the game. Because all the problems we experience is because we've got low energy, no options. And everyone's trying to wring the life out of daytime stuff. Oh, do this, do this, do this. I'm like, fuck that. All right, let's go to the unconscious hours. How about we raise the quality of the soil before we criticize the leaves not being a certain way?
Makes sense. I love it. I love it. Well, Tim, big thank you today for the show. Big thank you for joining me today. Big thank you for a real, raw, honest conversation, and for teaching me a thing or two, and for helping me take my first real breath that I've taken in 30 years. So,
I like the look on your face, my friend. You're
really, I'm feeling good. I don't know what this is, but I feel good.
You actually look different.
I feel good.
I'm not bullshitting you. I'm not bullshitting you.
I feel good. But for our listeners that want more of the tools to learn more about this and to grow more through breathwork, you can download the Breathwork in Bed app simply on the Google Play Store or Apple App Store. Either one of those platforms work. Trust me, I have it downloaded on my phone right now. I'm going to sign up and get that thing going and try to see what happens. So if today's episode resonated with you, go here, go download it, go try it, go and do the things, right? See if it helps you, see the difference it makes. Apparently I look different, so you can look different too. If you want to be just like the old man
If you're
Jay, the
watching
host
the
here.
video, I don't want to be the guy saying it. If Jay looks different, drop it in the comments. And that was just one breath, by the way. That was just one breath. If you and I, if we did some one-on-one work, I could take you to places that words really just can't describe. We what we that was literally just dipping your toe in a very deep lake. People ask, why do you do 2 hours? Me, I do 2 hours of breath work a day. And I said, if you could feel as good and get as high on your own supply and benefit every cell in your body, every person in your circle, it becomes a very easy thing. So anyway, I don't want to talk too much about it, but I'm just
You're
saying,
good.
Jay,
You're
this is
good.
this is just that if you like this taste, that's the sampler at the front of the shop. When you come in the shop, there's a whole buffet of goodness.
I like it. I like it. So better sleep, less stress, these more energy, or just a breath away. Believe it or not. And to all the listeners, for everyone listening right now, go ahead and go and right now it's the end of the podcast. You know what to do. You hear it on every podcast. Go and do the things you can do to show your love, support, and adoration of the podcast. Go and leave a review, leave 5 stars, all the things that you do that you know will support the podcast and help it grow. And the more engagement, the better. And with that, we'll catch you right here next time on the Young Dad Podcast.